Alright, so here's the door of my TJ Jeep. I've been struggling with this damn thing for a long time. It started with one day I just closed the door and didn't want to open again. And you end up with predicaments like the outside handle won't work, the inside handle won't work. You can lock and unlock the door, but damn thing won't open. And that's a real problem because the only way to fix it really involves taking off this inner door card, and the only way to do that is to basically slide the seat all the way back as far as it'll go, and then you got to be a real contortionist. I mean, I'm a pretty small dude. I'm only 5'8", and that helped, but being able to like reach down and get to the screws that hold the door card on at the bottom, huge pain in the ass, very uncomfortable. You have to bend in some weird positions, or you have to do a 90-degree bit for your screw gun, and then you have to be really careful not to break the door card as you're trying to pop these clips loose on the bottom. You have to kind of get something that like right up onto the clip and kind of pull it straight out. And if you don't do that, if you just start grabbing the plastic and yanking on it, you probably will break the plastic. If not here, then up here. And I actually did that on both door cards, but luckily they were old ones and I had replacements that came with the Jeep. But anyways, what really the issue is, like I said, that all happened. Door handle won't work. Didn't know shit about the doors here. Took the whole thing apart and bought a replacement for the outside door handle, thinking that was a problem. Paid like $100 and something for it at O'Reilly, and that wasn't the issue at all. I mean, I put it back together, and the first time I tried to open the door, yeah, 2 or 3 times later, same thing. And I can't remember what exactly I did differently, but for quite a while the door was cooperating with me, although to be fair, I rarely drove the Jeep for a long time. But lately it's becoming much more of a problem, where it's gotten to the point where basically every time I close the damn door, or almost every time I close the door, the damn thing won't work again. And so again, you know, if you put the whole thing back together, you're stuck with that nightmare. So let me show you a little bit about how this works for those of you who aren't familiar. You got these like rods that are connected, and this one connects a lot like this one. Just to give it an example, basically the way you do this is you feed that thing in there, and then you swing this down and you clip it. Removing it is very easy, and you can do this, you know, even when they're pretty fresh. You can still, most people can still do this. If you can't do it with your finger, there you go. If you can't do it with your finger, just get a flathead screwdriver. Oops. Putting it back on, you just push it back into place. You can just get a flathead screwdriver and press it up against here while you hold here, and it will, once it pops off, it's easy to do. But I want to cut straight to the point. Some people there's a video or two out there where people will talk about how this is an adjuster, and you can see that the way that the door opens is basically this rod has to be pushed down, and when you pull the door handle, that's what it does. When you pull either one of these handles, you pull the inside handle, there's a rod down here that's connected to this, and it basically, to release everything, it has to go down. And there's this weird little thing here, and on an older door, especially if you've been dicking with it as much as I have, you know, this thing gets a little bent out of shape and stuff like that. And what I've been running into is that when I put it on there, Okay, so you can kind of see there. Get this out of the way, actually. Maybe you can see a little better. Yeah, better, much better. All right. So you can kind of see it has these little claws on there, and these aren't threads. They're just serrations, basically. They don't coil. They're just round grooves, and the little claws on that middle thing will you're supposed to sort of fit in these channels, and then this provides like tension sort of against it, and then when you operate your door handle, boom, you know. But clearly it's not clipped on super secure right now. It's a little bent out of shape, but I can assure you, like you can't quite see it. Sorry guys, fucking phone won't focus. Like mine's not quite all the way on there, but I've had it all the way on there. I've spent some time trying to get the stuff all bent back into shape so that it will fit right in the grooves on both top and bottom. The idea being that you really don't want those to have like an air gap between the rod and the metal hooky things, because then they're not fully seated. And then you kind of want this guy right here, you kind of want it to provide some tension or something. I've tried different methods of sort of tilting it out and having it pressed right against the rod in a neutral state so it really holds on there. But if you look, when I pull this rod, see how that air gap expands? You know, there's really nothing I can do at this point. I may have to get a new inner latch, and the reason why is because that pin that holds this on there is really loose, and so it may just be too loose to actuate properly. But another thing I noticed is that this guy right here is bent, and so what I'm going to try to do is kind of a last ditch effort. I'm going to see if I can get this thing bent back straight again, and then I'm going to hope that once that's bent back straight, I can get this stuff bent back straight, get it all hooked on there correctly, and then I may think about just like trying to solder it together or something, or maybe wrap some strong tape around it or something to just help it stay connected. Because I gotta tell you, the absolute last thing in the world you ever want to deal with is these fucking doors, and the handle stops working, you know, and my Jeep's lifted, and not only is it humiliating to like have to crawl through the passenger side to get, you know, into the driver's seat and then get out, it's a pain in the ass. Like, these Jeeps are not, it's a TJ, it's not long, it doesn't have a high roof, there's not a ton of space up front, and yeah, it's just a real hassle having to climb over everything and get in and out. So, well, wish me luck. I'm going to try bending that, and, you know, I'll make an update later, maybe, if it ends up not working. One thing I don't want to do is, like, butcher that rod too much, because replacing that would be a much bigger pain in the ass. You know, this thing comes out with, there's a couple screws here, and then you unhook that rod, and then you can basically take it right out of there and replace the whole assembly and get another assembly for like $100 or so. Some people have talked in videos like this, the issue where the handle won't work in your door and you can't open your door, and it could be from like broken glass falling down inside that latch. That don't rule that out. I have already taken this latch out, cleaned it up, and then I cleaned it up with a QD electronics cleaner, or yeah, I think it was QD electronics cleaner, because you want something that's going to be safe to use on plastics. You don't want to use like brake cleaner and shit, because that can like dissolve the plastics. But it's also got a bunch of like thick silicone grease in there from the factory. So when you do that, get some like plumber's grease or something and kind of smear it around in there. You don't want to glom the stuff on, because if you do, then all the dirt that, you know, and dust and stuff that flies in your door will accumulate, stick to all that grease, and actually just kind of cause more trouble than it solves. So I'm going to use silicone spray grease this time to kind of lube it up a little bit. But yeah, this thing can come right out, and you should open it up and see if there's like little broken bits of glass in there, because that can stop the whole thing from moving properly. So we'll see what happens. You know, with the hooks and everything being loose, it was like every time I'd slam the door, this would just pop off of here because it can just jiggle so much in the angling, right? But as far as the rest of your inner door here, I mean, I guess while we've got you, maybe there's other stuff you'd like to know. These door handles, or these window handles, are held on with a thing called a Jesus clip. That's a technical name. Let's see if I can get under here. No, you can't see it. It's actually, like, it's not even visible. Maybe. You're kidding me. Well, there's a thing called a Jesus clip, and it's basically like shaped like a C. You could call it a C clip or an E clip or whatever. I don't know what Chrysler calls it, but it's a Jesus clip. And if you can find where the copper is, you'll see that it wraps around this handle, and wherever it goes, there's channels in the handle, so it can only go in one way or the other. And with that, the 2 points have to stick out one section, and then the back side is going to be like a C shape. You don't really want to come from that side. What you want to do is figure out where the 2 points are, and then if you can get something kind of broad and flat and just sort of press against it, you know, like you can, like if the door card's already assembled, you're not going to be able to get anything like needle nose pliers in there, maybe a flat bladed pry tool or something like that. But one trick that a lot of people do that works pretty good, especially if you've tried it, like practice a little bit. Let's see if I can get camera set up to show you. The camera doesn't fall here. It does. Probably have to edit this later. Nobody wants to watch all this shit. Just set it. But you figure out which direction the little points are, and my points are on this side. If they're not on that side, then they're going to be on the knob side. So they don't, like I said, they only go one way or the other because of the channels that are on there. So what you can do is get a towel, and you can do this with the door card on, okay? And you just, let's see here. I'm trying to let you see there. Maybe I can barely get it. Well, practice it. Sometimes it just pops right off. Kind of depends on the angle you're getting and stuff like that, but I've done it even with a strong paper towel before. But if not a paper towel, sometimes you can just sort of reach in and you might only get one side to go a little bit. But you can just poke on it with a screwdriver. I mean, you get the idea. Once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But you just have to push it off. To put it back on, you just slide the clip back onto the handle fully, and then push it down onto the spindle here. There's no other magic to it. I know it looks like if you try to do that, it wouldn't work, because when you look at, once the clip is on there and this isn't attached, if you flip it over and look at the little hole that the spindle is supposed to go into, the copper clips are like passing through the hole almost, but they will spread apart and make room for the spindle. And then once you get it pressed onto the spindle, it just locks onto the little notch, so you'll be fine. So, all right, well, wish me luck.